Now we'll look at an example in which we have three charges. So starting with our charges that we had before, Q1 and Q2, we're going to add a third one, Q3. So now we need to look at the distance between Q1 and Q2. We're going to denote R sub 1, 2. The distance between Q2 and Q3 will denote R 2, 3. And the distance between Q1 and Q3 will denote R 1, 3. Now, as we learned from last time, the force from Q1 onto Q2 is exactly equal to the force of Q2 onto Q1. So we can write that as K Q1 Q2 over R 1, 2 squared. Similarly, if we look at the force between 1 and 3, again, the force of 1 onto charge 3 is exactly equal to the force of charge 3 onto charge 1. So it's equal to K times the charge on 1, the charge on 3, over the distance between the two. And lastly, we need to look at the force between charges 2 and 3. Okay, so now we know what the charges are separately, but we need to look at what the net force is on each of these charges. What we have written here are individual components of the total force on each of the charges. So we'll start with Q1. So we want to look for the total force on charge 1. That's going to be the sum of all of the forces on charge 1. So that means that we need to take the force of charge 2 onto charge 1, which we wrote above, and I'll rewrite here, and add to it the force due to charge 3 onto charge 1, which again I wrote above, but I'll write again down here. So all we did here was take this, plug it in here, and oops, wrong one, this one, and plug it in down here. So this is the equivalent of saying the force of 2 on 1 plus the force of 3 on 1. If you want to go through and simplify this, you can. Both of these terms have the proportionality constant K, and they also both have charge 1, since that's the charge that we're interested in here. So we can pull that out of the parentheses and be left with just the charges that are acting upon it. That's up to you, whether you want to do that simplification or not. And again, if we had numbers, we could go ahead and plug them in. This is how to find the magnitude of this force.